Lucas sat alone on the stone bench in front of the house. He was in his early 20s, but his face carried the weight of someone who had been struggling for years. He had just lost his job, his girlfriend had left, and his friends seemed caught up in their own successful lives. Lucas felt like he was sinking into a nameless, invisible hole. He couldn't explain how things had spiraled like this. Every morning felt like a battle against a sense of meaninglessness. No motivation, no clear direction, no light ahead. In that moment of despair, Lucas thought of his grandfather, a man who had lived a quiet life in a small house tucked away in the countryside. Lucas didn't know exactly why he felt the urge to visit, maybe because his grandfather was the only one left who wouldn't judge him. When Lucas arrived, his grandfather was sitting under the porch, a cup of warm tea in his hand, his eyes gazing out at the distant hills. He wasn't surprised to see his grandson. He simply shifted to the side and patted the empty space next to him. Lucas didn't speak. He sat down, head in his hands, letting the silence fill the gap. After a long moment, his grandfather finally spoke, his voice deep and soft like a breeze at dawn. "Are you running away from something, or have you just forgotten where you were headed?" Lucas didn't respond right away. He looked up at his grandfather, eyes reflecting a quiet sadness he couldn't name. "I feel useless, Grandpa. Everything's fallen apart, even me." His grandfather nodded. No objections, no comforting words. He just took a slow sip of tea and began. "Many years ago, I visited a remote village during a pilgrimage. There was an old woman there, extraordinary really. No husband, no children. She lived alone in a tiny house under a giant tree, and yet every morning she'd sit beneath that tree and smile, talking to anyone who passed by." Lucas frowned. Why was she so happy, living like that? That's what surprised everyone. The village was poor, life was tough. Sometimes there were droughts, sometimes sickness, but she never complained. One day, a young woman named Rada came to visit her. She was overwhelmed. Her husband had left to work far away and hadn't sent money home. Her children were hungry. She felt like she was drowning. The old woman didn't offer advice. She just told her a story about a man who had lost everything. But instead of cursing his life, he began to notice the sunlight through the trees, the songs of birds, the quiet flow of the river. And he realized he still had something left. Not wealth, but the awareness that life was still happening, and it was still beautiful in its own way. A few weeks later, Rada received a letter from her husband. He had found a job in the city and was sending money home. Overjoyed, Rada ran to the old woman's house to share the news. The woman smiled and nodded gently. "You see, when we think positively, we invite good things into our lives. Problems never disappear. But if we face them with hope, we will overcome them." Lucas sat still, his eyes a little softer now. His grandfather continued. Rada started practicing that. Every morning she'd tell herself, "Today will be a good day." Not to fake a smile, but to open her eyes to a different side of life. And strangely enough, even though her challenges didn't vanish, her spirit became steadier. Eventually, her husband's letter arrived, a new job, a new hope. Lucas was silent. Something inside him had shifted, just a little, but it was real. "You know, Lucas," his grandfather placed a hand on his shoulder, "life doesn't change just because we get angry or say a prayer. It changes when we change how we see it. Every day you live, you're building a new version of yourself with every small decision, every response to the challenges you face. I feel like I've lost everything, Grandpa. My direction, my confidence, even myself. That's okay," his grandfather smiled. "Our biggest losses often leave behind the most room, and that space is the perfect place to start drawing a new life." Lucas looked down. A tear fell, but it wasn't just sadness. It was like a piece of long frozen ice had finally melted. That day, Lucas didn't find answers to all his problems, but he found something more important, the ability to feel the beauty of an ordinary day. The next morning, Lucas made his grandfather a cup of coffee, then stepped out to the porch and looked up at the sky. The clouds were still gray, but light was breaking through. He no longer wished for a miracle. But he knew if he kept showing up aware, grateful, and steady, then life would no longer be a race. It would be a journey he could actually savor. We often get caught in the belief that happiness comes from achieving something huge, a dream job, the perfect relationship, a full bank account. But the truth is, no one has full control over life's circumstances. What we do control is how we see them and how we respond. Positive thinking doesn't mean denying pain or pretending everything's fine. It means choosing to see both sides of life, the struggle and the hope, and choosing to act from the place where the light still shines. In a world full of noise and comparison, calmness has become a kind of strength. And sometimes, the real turning point doesn't come from the world changing, but from how we choose to walk through it. I hope you found this story helpful. If you enjoyed today's story, be sure to hit the like button. It might seem like a small thing, but because of how the YouTube algorithm works, videos with more likes tend to get shown to more people. So your like really helps this video reach others who might need it too. And if you find my content valuable, consider subscribing. It really helps more people discover it. Thanks for watching, and I wish you and your family good health and peace. See you in the next story.